Okay. You don't know it, but this is take two, so I'm gonna try this again. Um, anyway, we're on chapter 13, right? Attraction, love, and communication. And when I was looking at this, I thought it was kind of there's not as much uh, research on love as I would have thought. Like I was surprised, and really until the late 1950s, um, love was just considered another aspect of like there was no real differentiation. So I'm just going to look at some quick uh, kind of research, and I'll tell you some things. In the modules, right here we go. You scroll down to here, and this is a PowerPoint, and it is um, it's not the book's PowerPoint. It's just one I put together real quick, right? So Zick Rubin, Z-I-C-K, not Rick Rubin, the music producer, but Zick Rubin was the first one to really do some differentiational study about between liking and love, right? And trying to differentiate. And so this was didn't happen until 1968. He was a PhD student, I guess, because this was his dissertation. And it was then published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. And you can use this link to get to the article. Right? If you want to read the whole article, you can do that. And his hypothesis is that a love is an attitude held by a person towards a particular other person involving the predispositions to think, feel, and behave in a certain way towards that person. Which means you think that person is special, I'm guessing, if you want to cut it down. So he made a scale to measure liking and love. And it had three major components, right? A romantic love, an affiliative and dependent need, the predisposition to help that person, an exclusiveness that those feelings are only for that person at that level, right? The questions are there. You rate them 1 to 9, right? 9 is the strongest feelings, and 1 is the weakest feelings, right? And then when you add up your total score, it's not like, oh, when you get a 119, you love that person. That's not the way it works. The higher your score, obviously, the closer you are to loving that person. And this all goes, being able to love somebody goes back to our attachments, right? So attachment occurs basically during infancy and young childhood, like, baby, when we're babies, right? And so we develop most of our attachment is developed as an infant. And it's basically we have secure attachments or insecure attachments, right? And secure infants get fed when they're hungry, right? They're cuddled, they're held, they're talked to, they're taken care of. Whereas insecure attachments come from when that doesn't happen. And for a variety of reasons that it doesn't happen, right? One of the great problems here is like postpartum depression, where the mother was so depressed and so distraught in her own place that she cannot provide for the child the way she normally would. People have different outlooks on parenting, and so and just like everything else, this is not you have secure attachments or insecure attachments, right? There's a whole spectrum of levels and gray area in between there, right? Our whole life is on a continuum, not a yes and black and white, right? But babies that are ignored while they're crying and never picked up and coddled and all those things and held. If they don't get much physical contact, those does lead to insecure attachment, which then affect us all the way through our lives. Our attachment disorders, I don't know, you can read about them in the DSM, you can read about them anywhere, right? So if I'm healthy attachments, it's easy for me to get close to people. I'm just comfortable with people. I depend on people. I have no problem with people depending on me, and I don't fear being abandoned, right? And obviously, an insecure attachment is exactly the opposite. I have a problem with trust issues. I believe people are going to abandon me. I self-sabotage relationships because of that. Right, like I'm gonna leave before you leave me. I'm gonna leave you before you leave me. I'm gonna make it so, or I'm gonna have a self-fulfilling prophecy based on that insecurity. I drive you away, and that feeds my reinforces the fact that you're gonna leave me. Very complex feelings, right? Another. So, it gets very complex, right? People don't get as close to me because of the way I am, and part of that is I'm not letting them do that. Right? So all those things I kind of just said, or something I summed up. I said here. Right. So they did a survey, and I didn't put the graph in here, but right, so 50 out of the number of adults that they surveyed, 56% had secure attachments, 19% had avoidant type attachment, and 25% had anxious or ambivalent type of attachments, right? And so those last two, this means I avoid getting close to people, right? Avoidant, it's not rocket science, right? I'm avoiding close relationships. I'm afraid of them. I'm afraid for all those reasons I just said. The same thing here about the anxious and ambivalence, right? I may have come to the point where I'm comfortable not being close to people. And I just feel that's the norm, and it has become my norm. But it's typically not the norm of how the average person operates, right? So we're coming to the end of this lecture right here. So what's going to happen here is you are going to complete Rick Rubin's love and liking scale, and I'll show you where it is in Module 1. You will then write your comment in the discussion. I don't need to know your scores. I don't want to know any of that. But I want you to write in the discussion sentence, how has it impacted your thoughts about the person you were thinking about when you filled it out? So when you fill it out, you're going to have to think about somebody, whether it's somebody you believe you love, somebody you believe you like, to try to differentiate. So your discussion is 50 to 100 words, and you do not need to comment on any of your peers. It's just your discussion. That's it. And I will be reading them and grading them based on the quality of your comments. So if you just write like I believe it, well, you're not going to get much credit. Okay, you need to put some thought into this, and you need to build a solid case for whatever it is you're saying. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, the modules, and here it is, Rubin's love and liking scale. And so here you go. So here's the love scale, right? Like I said, 1 is not true and 9 is definitely true. If I loved one was feeling badly, my first duty would be to choose them up. Is it true or not true? Right? And then where on this scale are you in that question, right? So all of these questions. And then this is the like scale. right? So this is two different people, right? Like, maybe your closest friend versus your partner or your parents or your siblings, right? Who is it that you think you love and who is it you just like, right? So you fill this out. Like I said, I don't need to know what your scores are. I just want to know how you believe it works for you in a sense, right? Um, and that is about it for this little lecture, okay? The only other thing is I'm going to go back down here, and these are all the resources I used for this. So this is that article, of course. I took some stuff from Mullany College site and some PowerPoints that I found online, and paraphrased some stuff, took some, I didn't copy slides, but I did use some of their materials. All right. So I put my resources in there. You can look at this. You have this to follow along to, and you know where the scale is. Okay. And as always, if you need, I'm available for some questions. Okay. All right. Thanks and good luck.